Yeah, ab- absolutely, I can. Yeah, so Custobar is a customer data and marketing automation platform designed for omnichannel retail and B2C. So what we do is that we unify all the customer related from our client systems, e-commerce, physical stores, all of that, create this golden record per every consumer basically and their client, and then make it actionable for dynamic segmentation, marketing automation, basically omnichannel orchestration in different channels. We're a 10-year-old company, no, 11-year-old company actually, and hailing from Finland, but our biggest growth markets are in Central Europe, so DACH region, German-speaking countries, and then Benelux and so forth. People at Customer who do sales is separated into two. So we have kind of like new sales and new business, and then we have like key account managers. And I focus mostly on the kind of like new business side. And there the goal is obviously to get as much sales kind of like driven by the strategy. Obviously, we do also outbound, and we have kind of like agencies who help us like book outbound meetings and we meet ourselves. Then we get some inbound, but also like partner business is really important for us. So we work with e-commerce agencies, marketing agencies, ERP or POS providers, and try to help them to give kind of like best CDP and marketing automation solutions for their clients. So the sales team, basically people have certain regions where they operate, or they have like responsibility for certain countries usually, or working with certain partners. And that's kind of quite straightforward, I think. And then how I obviously to help them is that like with almost the 10 years of experience in the field, I try to bring that to the table. I try to improve the sales processes that we have, basically to make the sales efforts of people who actually do the sales, which is actually me included as well, to make that as like easy and smooth as possible. And that obviously touches the kind of like tooling as well. I like technology, but I like technology from the point of view that, because I'm also extremely lazy, which I think is a good thing. So I want that the work of salespeople is as easy as possible, that we don't use too much time on doing transcripts in meetings or collecting potential companies and leads or researching kind of like the contact people or stuff like that. So the kind of like tooling has to support that side. That kind of like when a potential company comes into our kind of like knowledge, the sales steps, it's the kind of like quickest way to kind of like contact that company and the right people in the company and take the sales case forward. And also that they also get the kind of like as much insights about potential prospects or the ongoing deals as possible. It's a lot about the kind of like way how companies do decisions nowadays. So it's not that it would be great that everybody who's interested in CDP or marketing automation in our field, that they would just pick up the phone and call us or email us. But that's not the case. They do a lot of research in the background. They have agencies or partners who do the research for them. Sometimes the partners might do the research for them kind of like beforehand, that they have a client who's talked about, for example, unifying their customer. And then like, if we don't know all those companies and kind of like get intent signals, it's pretty darn hard to know what companies to contact, at what point of time, to basically be in those discussions at the right point of time. So then like having lead feeder or a similar solution to kind of like know what are the companies, what are they looking at our site, how active have they been, that's really essential for us. And especially like, actually, I think the last 6 months has been interesting because it's not only the direct potential customers that we get from these, but it's quite often actually the partners that we see that this kind of like agency has been on the site. These might be the contact people, or then we actually sometimes obviously tie the data from HubSpot. This was the identified contact. Much easier to kind of like be in touch that you've been looking at certain parts of the tool, or you might be interested in these, like, is there something that we could help you with? With that kind of like outreach, the hit rate is much, much better, and obviously the timeliness. It tells us, like, not obviously 100% because that's not possible, but it gives us a great idea on what companies have been on our site, what have they been doing, looking at when have they been doing those things. It gives us obviously kind of like notifications, daily, weekly, depending on obviously on the kind of like salesperson or me, when do we get these kind of like notifications. So then we can actually take action. And then at the same time we have, because it's pretty complex solution and touches a lot of different parts of like our clients' organizations. So the sales cycles are quite long. It's in weeks, it's usually in months. So it's normal that case can be dormant for like half a year, sometimes even a year, when they're doing, for example, e-com or ERP projects at the same time. So then like lead feeder, like providing us the information that actually now this client has become active, or this partner is back on our site. It's super valuable, because then that's the right time to kind of like reach out again, like specifically, and also kind of like seeing that, okay, they've been looking at our API. So now they might be in the kind of like integration phase of the thing, not thinking about like if Custobar can help, but how can we actually put kind of like Custobar as a part of the kind of like technology architecture. So yeah, so that's basically. I don't actually have like specific numbers like on that, because quite a lot of them have been in the kind of like HubSpot in one form or the other, because we've done maybe some other kind of like outreach or marketing to them. But like in the past 6 months, I think we've added 180,000 of potential pipeline, like ARR, in the last 6 months alone. So kind of like cases that we had no idea that existed without seeing them from lead feeder and then getting in contact. And this is only obviously kind of like glimpse at the last 6 months. So when you extrapolate it to on yearly level, it's significant revenue for us, to be honest. Yes. So obviously, being a kind of like SaaS solution, which is daily used by our clients, they come to our site a lot. So a lot of the traffic, constant traffic, is from our existing clients. And then again, when we think about new business, not that relevant. So obviously kind of like tagging, which we've done in sync with like HubSpot and lead feeder, is the site that we obviously kind of like, when the deal is closed, it's a client in lead feeder, and we know that kind of like then we don't get the triggers for the salespeople. But then again, what we do is that, let's say if I'm responsible for the Benelux market, right away when a contact or a company which isn't tagged as a client or partner comes to the site and is a kind of like new company, then I get a notification. And then similarly, because the data is synced on the deal owners, so then if my company in my pipeline comes to the site, or my contacts come to the site and lead feeder identifies that, I right away get a notification. So that's kind of like amazing, because any given time, there's so much cases for all of us. There's so much kind of like stuff going on, different systems. So getting the time notifications for the sales and how smoothly it works in sync with like HubSpot, that's really valuable. And then obviously also for the key account managers, because all the visits that are identified, they're also synced to HubSpot. So then when, for example, the key account managers do calls with our clients, or they prepare for business review meetings or quarterly meetings, it's pretty great that they can just go to HubSpot, which they anyways use daily, and check out like, okay, like this client has been looking at this kind of like content or these kind of features, So maybe we should kind of like discuss that or ask if there's like questions or things that they have been pondering. So it's kind of in a way like a superpower. And it's funny that even in the sales meetings that I do, how kind of like easy step in it is into the conversation. Like when you ask like, have you been wondering like how have the internal discussions been going? Have you been wondering, for example, about X? And it's like, actually, that's the part that might be a bit unclear. It's such a like easy door opener to the discussions. Obviously it's a lot about also kind of like saving time. So is it like for example, compared to before, like a similar solutions that we had, we saw that a company was on our site, but then you deemed that, okay, it makes sense. You had to go to the CRM to create the contact and or create the company, add the contacts, maybe find the contact details as well. Easily takes 5 minutes, like in total, because you have to jump between the systems. But then like nowadays, it basically click of like 2 buttons and you have the company, in the best case also the right contact persons in HubSpot. So it's a huge time saver, because I believe that all salespeople are in a good way lazy and they want to do things efficiently. And this is exactly the kind of like efficiency that they want. And obviously prepping for the meetings as well, to give example that I gave before, it's much nicer that you also have all the data in HubSpot, which or the CRM in general, which you're using, than kind of like jumping between systems. So providing the correct data in the kind of like system that we use daily, that's a huge time saver and kind of like efficiency booster as well. It's a lot about the timeliness. So yeah, like knowing exactly that kind of like these partners or these potential clients from the markets that you operate in have come to your page or have been looking at Custobar, pretty sure that we are not the only solution that they're looking at. So the timing, like the email notifications, make it like we can do it like in an extremely timely manner. Really good anecdote from this was a big potential customer case via a partner coming from Germany. So this agency was consultancy agency was looking at like different CDP options for the client. I got the notification right away that they had been on our site. I emailed them and called them, and it was extremely like positive thing. They were like, yeah, we've been doing this research for this client of ours, and you were the first one to reach out to us, even though they had been looking at some, what was it, bit under 10 systems. So obviously being first on the table and like leaving a good impression, that plays a role. And obviously that's one case, but that was also a case where we got instant feedback on. So those kinds of things are really important. And obviously dormant cases as well. If you haven't heard anything kind of like concrete from a client in 3 months, and then they come to your site and you right away get an email, pretty brilliant time to like reach out. And without this, like, how would you know it? Being in the dark in many ways. Yeah, so for us, I think we could take it even further, but I think the part which we are really happy about, that how we've built the tagging between HubSpot and Leadfeeder, so that the partners are identified, the clients are identified, the lost cases are identified with the tags. So then we basically always know, and then we have automations tied to the tags, obviously, that we know that now it was a client who did this, or it was a prospect or partner who did this. And obviously with those, it's much easier to also do these kind of like own feeds in Leadfeeder. So then, for example, I'm not that interested, to be honest, about like existing client, what they do on our side, but like all the potential companies, that's an interesting one. Also, like if I know that it's already in the pipeline, that's usually nothing that I need to do anything about, because I know our salespeople already they get a notification on that. But then again, all those companies which are not tagged, so they're not in the CRM in any way, then like I can do a quick scan and just like ask from my colleagues, did you see this or are you taking action? And obviously same thing for me. So once again, like efficiency. So we kind of like know on what things to focus on. Biggest one is the core functionality. It feeds you leads. So I think it's amazing that you have a solution which excellent on what the value prop is. It tells you the companies which come to your site in an easy way. So obviously that's the core of it. So we've tested different solutions on this field as well. And all of them were not as good on that side. So obviously like the core thing is for sure the kind of like the biggest thing for us. But I think nowadays the HubSpot integration, that's a huge time saver. It's so easy for us to sync the companies and contacts into HubSpot. And now that there are also the contacts and the contact details in Dealfront as well, I think that's pretty cool, because earlier when we had like lead feeder, that part was missing. But now that we have that direct links to the LinkedIn profiles of the potential people in the company, I think that's also a huge time saver when we think about prospect. Yeah, so it's the people who do new sales and also the key account managers. And I think on Dealfront side, the salespeople use it most because we have the specific feeds and the email automations coming to the salespeople. And then we use it quite a lot to see Dealfront itself, what the companies have been using, and the salespeople are using it a lot. But then key account managers also use it quite effectively and a lot. They use it mostly from the HubSpot side because the integration works so well that everything that they need is in HubSpot for taking care of clients. So then again, getting the stuff from Dealfront to HubSpot, that's an easy way for them as well. For the sales team, right away when we took Dealfront into use, that was really quick because the problem there is so obvious. So everybody really wanted to take it into use as fast as possible. Such an easy tool to set, such an easy tool to do the automations and tagging, no issues at all. And then for the key account managers, it's a bit of a newer function in the way it operates nowadays. And also because they don't have such a big need to look at Dealfront specifically. But let's say it like this, before Dealfront, we didn't get the kind of data of the existing clients into HubSpot. And now that we have it, it's obviously like dream come true to them. And I think if I would ask, what do you do with Dealfront? They might not actually even think about it because it's in such a good format in HubSpot for their usage. So for them, it basically didn't require any adaptation in their working methods because we were able to provide the data that they need into the system that we use anyways. We should be better on the kind of number part, but something that I can share is like when I look at the last 6 months, it's the 180K pipeline that we were able to add with the help of Dealfront. 180K, a big number for me and us. So that's obviously a huge plus. So I'd say that maybe it's 90% quicker now to do the prospecting for companies who come to our site compared to before we had Dealfront and the integration with HubSpot. Because you check it out from Dealfront, you maybe look at their site, see if it makes sense, then a few clicks and it's in HubSpot. And then you can take action there. In the best case, obviously with the context as well. So a huge time saver. like from my perspective, really simple. So we are able to uncover potential clients' leads, which would be kind of hidden otherwise. We're able to be in contact with those companies as quick as possible because we get the feedback from Dealfront so quickly. And also in the cases which take a long time, we have a better understanding of what the client is interested in and what are they interested in. And then obviously for the key account managers, it's about the same thing, but from the perspective that we actually know what the client is looking at and interested at that point of time. So if knowledge is power, then Dealfront is the superpower that we have for the sales and key account management team. Yeah, that's a funny story. So I think we joined Leadfeeder. It was still Leadfeeder maybe in 2017, like started using it. Because actually the founders of the company knew each other. This was pretty cool technology then. And then obviously we started using it and used it a lot as well. And then I remember we had it for many years. Then at some point of time, we took like some prospecting and like data tools into use from where we got like similar data. So then obviously we wanted to think about the cost. Do we want to pay for both? And then we ended with Dealfront or Leadfeeder at that point of time. Then at the same time, then we also ended prospecting tool, which had like similar kind of like features. To be honest, the features weren't, as it came part of a bigger package, why not? Then in between, we also, or like after that, we tested another tool, which looked nice, but like in the end, not closely as good, because we maybe tested it for 3 or 4 months or something like that. And then I was basically, you have the kind of like yearning for home, because I knew kind of like how good Leadfeeder was and kind of like how much better it became as a like Dealfront. And then I just thought that this could be so much better because I knew that it was better before. So then I think I was in contact with you guys or you were in contact with me. And then we came. It's just like I said before, it's the core kind of like value proposition. It just works so well, and especially us changing the CRM into HubSpot, you having a superb HubSpot integration, that made the decision even easier because it integrates so well with our kind of like processes and working methods. So it was just like coming home. It kind of like some people like Pepsi, some people like Coke, and then there's like, is there anything better than the real deal? Is there anything better than Coke? So yeah, so that's why we're back, and I'm happy with the choice, to be honest. Absolutely. I think it's as a technology, as a tool, like in its core, as the integrations, the functionalities, it's perfect. It was great even before, but also like how much development happens, like the new features and things which are coming constantly. What else can you wish for as a client? And then obviously the kind of like support that we get from like Dealfront, I think that's amazing. Like the customer success managers that we have from Dealfront, I think that's amazing. Like it can be a big question, small question, or not a question at all. But basically the ideas that we get from you guys, I think that's amazing. Having been kind of like the main user or contact person for many of the sales tools or kind of like sales related SaaS tools, I think the support that we get from you guys is by far the best that we've ever gotten.